Thank you for tuning in to this broadcast. It's probably really important to understand that the issue of missing children is an epidemic nationwide. We've been focused on the missing children epidemic in Washington, D.C., but here locally in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in this region, I'm going to name cities and communities where some of you can actually get informed and educated on the topic of the missing children epidemic, not just in Washington, D.C., but in the surrounding states around Washington, D.C., from North Carolina to Pennsylvania, but we're going to focus in on Pennsylvania. And please understand that we're sharing this outrage. We've got to get our public engaged and informed. And this is how we're going to get people. But there are some strong words what we're going to use regarding this topic. And we're sharing this outrage because I think more and more people want to know the facts and stats. And we're gathering the information and we're going to get more educated. Well, we're asking all of you and we're inviting you every Saturday to start gathering. Don't wait till you have to gather a search party to find missing children. We have to act now as in a local community here in Beaver County, from Allegheny County to Westmoreland County to Butler County, and on throughout the state of Pennsylvania. And we're going to talk about the facts and stats, and you're going to be startled at some of the information. Please understand we're sharing this outrage right now, right here. Thank you for listening. Okay, so we're watching the news feed, and Fox is rolling the tape. There's obviously a lot of protests right now. One, of course, is the failure to change the Obamacare law, which is not a law, as you know. And we're going to talk about a variety of topics. When I say share the outrage, when you're down in D.C. and you see a group of young people who are taking a stand for the children, which there's nothing left of this country if we can't even protect the little children. This is the idea. We don't fight. We don't go to work. We don't get to the store back and forth. We don't do these things unless you can actually basically keep your kids safe. You know, I look at this as a five-pronged attack on America. First of all, we got somebody needs to explain what really Obamacare is if you can't even protect your own children. I don't know how anybody goes to work without putting a sign on their door. We used to have block parent. You know, we used to talk to our neighbors. I mean, this is the one thing that every community right now should be in their parks and gathering. There's a gathering storm here. And it's like overlooked. I don't know how our communities aren't out at the parks every day discussing this topic about missing children. You know, this is everybody's issue. That's the thing. This is not a liberal issue. This is not a this is not a Republican issue. This is not one of those things. This is something everyone that has a restaurant, a salon, who works who has to get a babysitter, who has to put their kids into daycare. This should be everybody's issue right now. And instead, you're not hearing any of this. I mean, on a Saturday, every Saturday, there should be a gathering in our parks right now. Gathering together, discussing this topic every Saturday. Every day we talk about it. Every day. We're not going to stop talking about it unless it gets more coverage. I cannot understand what is going on in our communities. The only way that you can draw attention to what's going on within our county and our police departments is when people start to show up. Instead of the police officers pulling people over, we need to ask our police officers, our judges, our attorney, the DA, what is going on with the missing children epidemic? What is going on that these cases are underreported? What is going on that there are people that are being stonewalled in these investigations? Or even why are the trials, why aren't there more evidence that would at least put a stop to the sexual abuse of children? In Westmoreland County right now, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, there are cases deliberately blocked because of who you know in the higher levels of government. throughout Pennsylvania right now. This is our issue. This has always been our issue. Whether some people can have the courage to face and confront this, the ugly numbers are real. I'm going to tell you guys like it is. It's not pretty. This is not pretty. Every person, everyone in your family should be talking about it to some degree. There's no sketchy information here. I just heard of a case in Westmoreland County of a 9-year-old little boy who's been sexually molested since he was an infant. And they can't even get the case to court because of who these people know. This has nothing to do with whether you report it or not, because even Children's Hospital can't even get these people to even argue this case. How is this going? Then you hear of the epidemic of sexual abuse of foster children. It is not a joke. This is everyone that sends their kids to school takes the chance, takes the risk because of lack of information, lack of public involvement, and it's our fault. It's our fault if we don't sit there and talk about this every day. You can't just go on social media. I realize that. We got to invite our community here in Beaver County. We got to invite the community to start making it a habit of being there every Saturday at 11 o'clock and march every Saturday. I'm offering this just in our community, Zillionople, Cranberry Township. I'm going to point out all the communities right now in my region, Allegheny County, Westmoreland County. If you all start showing up in these parks and you make a habit of making this your issue, I guarantee the communities are going to start being safer because summer is coming. And I'm telling you, the weather's getting nice. And you know what? This is not a clash against the police, but we need answers from our community leaders. Why are these cases not going to court? Why are they not going? Why are the sex crimes kits sitting in lockers? Why? Why aren't they investigating these sex crimes against children? Why is it that Pennsylvania is one of the top states for ritual sexual abuse of children? Why aren't there answers? Why don't we take the curtain down and find out who the real wizards are behind us? Why aren't we asking hard questions? Because a lot of us are not informed. And you're probably more informed right now than you've ever been before. You should go to Dormont. You should go to every region throughout this region. You should go to Mount Lebanon. The Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania region alone is, I don't know even what the real numbers are right now. We've been focused on the national problem, but I'm going to just start right here. Our homework assignment is to find out how many missing children in the Pittsburgh region right now. And I'm going to warn you, you're probably going to be shocked at how many children have gone missing in Freedom, Pennsylvania, and Rochester, Beaver County, Beaver Falls, and I'm telling you, it's not just here in Pittsburgh, okay? It's abroad. It's a statewide issue. It is honestly, there aren't enough reporters that could cover all the stories of the missing children. And you're talking not just missing children, but young adults and primarily young men in their 20s. So yeah, this is everybody's issue. We just heard about the recent case, and that was a couple weeks ago. And here in Beaver County, right here over by the Ohio River, they had to fish this young man's body out of the river. He was 23 years old from Maryland. So this is not just children now. We're seeing young adults go missing. And the sick tie to all this, the problem is that we don't have gas and money to go to every event. We can barely get the funds. We could barely even get gas in our car. We're running on fumes. And there are a lot of people who are asking, why isn't this our issue? I don't know why, but we got to start here. If I invite everyone to start your own community action group where you gather, you got to have signs. You got to take a couple dollars out of your pocket and buy poster board. You can do it at Dollar Tree. Show up in the middle of your community, because I'm going to tell you, if you wait till summer, it'll be too late. I'm telling you, this is the time to do it. You don't wait till summer when the kids are out in school. You gather, you start getting your kids and recruiting your kids to stand together and walk together. United we stand. This is not just like a Democrat issue now. This is not a Republican issue. This is not a black-white issue. This is all kids. These are all kids. These are all parents. And I'm going to tell you, the ones that start showing up, they're going to get more informed. They're going to get educated. You can do your own homework assignments. There's so much information right now regarding the missing children epidemic that every community right now needs to be there. They need to start showing up. You don't wait till it gets so bad that you go down to Washington, D.C. You got to start it at a local level. It's a community issue. It's a community issue whether you live in Monaca, whether you live in Sewickley, whether you live in, South Fayette. This is everybody's issue. Everyone has an issue with this. This is not a divided issue. I think people are divided because they don't know how to approach it. And I can understand that. And who am I? Who am I? Well, I was 14 years old. I lived in Dormont. I went to Keystone Oaks. I was followed by truant officers. It wasn't because I was being truant. Okay? I was 14 years old. I went down to Glenmore Academy. And if you're not familiar with Dormont, you would know it's on Glenmore Avenue. In 1985, I walked up the steps at 14 years old, knowing I could be in trouble from the school district. And I found my sisters in a daycare center, and they were held up there for 2 weeks. And there was no police report, believe it or not. And that whole 2 weeks, I sweated. And I wondered, why isn't my mom and dad not know what's going on? I mean, actually, my dad didn't know anything because he was in alcohol rehab, of all things. And the only outrage we heard is that somehow it was our fault because we were just trying to look for our sisters. I was looking for and it had been for a kid that I grew up with who nudged me at the school locker, I might not have found my sisters. And I know that some of this is all tied into a lot of other nefarious stuff. And our case went to Allegheny County. We had one of the worst cases in 1985 for Allegheny County and neglect and abuse. So I know what's really going on. I'm not talking from lack of experience. Unfortunately, I actually have a story to share with the city of Pittsburgh, with the community. And I know there's a lot of other parents that are parents that have already gone through this. That if you let your girls go to a bar, that some of your friends will leave your girls and you don't know who slipped something in your drink, because that's also another story that's underreported. It is underreported, and it is unfortunate. And now what we got going on in D.C., that 500 girls have gone missing since January 2017. 500 Black girls. And some of you live in communities. I know some of you live in Hayes Manor, McKees Rocks, Bottoms. And people have called us crazy. They would lock up a young woman before they ever believe their story. And this is outrageous. We're not lying. We've been screaming. We've been asking, why of our families sit there and ask us for more proof, more information. There isn't enough proof and information. Some of it we never even hear about ever again. And I know personally that the DA would ignore some of these cases. These girls do not belong in a women's shelter. This belongs out in the public. This is everybody's issue. This is not an issue that whether this is a private matter. This is happening every day. I mean, you support your police officers. I guess the question is, what's going on in these police departments that our police departments are not seeing these cases pursued? Well, we just heard of a case there in Westmoreland County. It's not the lack of pursuing a case. It's that somehow someone knows somebody that case won't even go to court. That is wrong. The average taxpayer here in Pennsylvania should demand answers. And that's the hard questions. But here in D.C., I mean, it's everywhere. Is it really about who you know? That your case either goes to court or doesn't? That's wrong. No one should have this kind of predatory threat. I mean, I hear story after story of children right now who parents say if they even say the wrong thing, they can lose their children. It was never like that before. This came to I came aware of this just recently. I didn't even know this. I don't have children, so I can't possibly speak on the issue, what's going on with children's services. But here in Zelienople, Pennsylvania, in August of 2015, a group of young boys were acting out sexually on each other. And they closed down Glade Run, their services. That was out in the news. This stuff is this is all news stories that you've read and heard about. So this is not just my issue. I mean, we're screaming loud. We're posting. Blow up your notifications. Do whatever somebody's got to ask the questions and start wondering what's going on. Why aren't the beauticians putting up signs in every salon? That's why we got to get together in a group and start passing out these signs, block parent signs, whatever it takes. But every storefront needs to have a sign up, or some kind of sticker or notification that we're like, block parents always worked. At least if you had a block parent sign in each window, at least that made it aware. But you don't even see that anymore. There was at least block parent signs. How are the parents going to get the help? There's not enough. And I know when you get the community involved, looking at what happened just recently with the case in Maryland, everyone came out in droves. We should not wait till that happens. We should not wait. We should be gathering every Saturday and building up our communities, because, summer's come along, and with the increase of missing children just in D.C. alone, this is not just a Washington, D.C. issue. It's happening in Pennsylvania. It's happening in West Virginia. It's happening in Ohio. This is a tri-state. You're talking the whole region is affected by this. For Washington, D.C. and Pennsylvania, which are in close proximity of each other, and Pennsylvania is one of the states with one of the largest issues with sexual abuse and occult sexual abuse of children, SRAs. I don't think it ever would get enough public attention. But I think the only way the community can ever stop what's happening is gathering an army every chance you get in every park. Because what's going to happen is that these kids disappear, and then it's too late, because then it's maybe a search and rescue at this point for some of the kids that have gone missing. So I really don't think you can wait. Or maybe I'm unaware of these organizations, because I've been focused on a lot of the national matters regarding this, but I'm aware of what's going on here locally in Pittsburgh and the surrounding region. Aliquippa, McKees Rocks, Stowe Township, Kennedy Township. People used to laugh and say, "Oh, you Christians, you sit there and you're on your moral high horse." It's not about that. There's nothing moral about ignoring a problem like this. Sex crimes epidemic, it's serious. And unfortunately, a lot of people want to make this whether, somehow you're more morally upright. I never ever said I was morally upright. We've been reposting this. We've been blowing up our notifications just on Facebook alone. And some of you are well aware of how outrageous it is. The only reason we're doing this is because we want to get people beyond the point of being afraid and confronting this real stats. And by educating our public and getting our community to be informed, you're going to be a lot more aware, sharper, and have the ability, according to the word, Proverbs 27:17. When we sharpen one another, iron sharpens iron. We're trying to inform you so that you can come from a position of strength, not defeat. You know what has defeated us is because of fear that a lot of people stay away from this topic. They can't approach a topic because they're afraid of it. And that's the bottom line. So while I might go off, I'm just speaking to the hearts of people that have been asking and wondering and silence because of the fear. But this is where we are overcomers. And when we get informed, we come from a place of victory, not defeat. And that's because we are informed.